DGENZ Crypto Weekly with Friends, episode 53, with our friends from Tombstoned coming right up.
DGENZ Crypto Weekly. Let's go. DGENZ Crypto Weekly. Let's go. Dreaming of Crypto Weekly. Ooh. Needing those gains so quickly. Oh, yeah. Let's break through the chains as we're so feeling strange. Dreaming of Crypto Weekly. Oh, yeah. Crypto Weekly, here we come. Making dollars on the run. Speaking freely, also dearly, quite clearly. Our shit coins are getting spun. Dreaming of Crypto Weekly. Ooh. Needing those gains so quickly. Oh, yeah. Let's break through the chains as we're so feeling strange. Dreaming of Crypto Weekly. Oh, yeah. Let's get it right. We got it solid on the dials, making everyone smile. Terry's got the magic touch, showing shit coins that are much to be desired and loved, like teddy bears and hugs. We collect them all, no dumping. Anyone tell me when they're pumping? Do what you want. Oh, yeah. Do what you want. Oh, yeah. Whatever you do, it's on you. Oh, yeah. Whatever you do, it's on you. Dreaming of Crypto Weekly. Needing those gains so quickly. Oh, yeah. Let's break through the chains and justice get the reins. Dreaming of Crypto Weekly. Oh, yeah. Let's get it right. DGENZ Crypto Weekly. DGENZ Crypto Weekly. DGENZ Crypto Weekly. That's all. DGENZ Crypto Weekly.
I love that tune. GM or GN or G afternoon, GAGA to everyone. Welcome to DGENZ Crypto Weekly with Friends, episode 53. We made it to 53, guys. It's fun to see that this platform hasn't rugged yet, so it's amazing to see that we're actually connecting with people without any rugs. Speaking of rugs, hey, Stylus is here. How's it going, Stylus? What you up in there?
The queen of rugs. I don't know
How's
why
it
you
going?
say GM, and I smile right away. Good morning, Charles.
Well, I'm glad you made it on time too. I was like, man, I don't know if she's gonna get here, but you just beat the clock, and I'm happy to see that you're here. Congrats.
Yeah, thank you. So what's going on this week? I need to catch up with crypto because I was a little bit out of scene for too long. I have to start attending your streams and get back to trading and everything. So Chart, get me back on track, please, today.
Well, isn't it crazy today? Like how everything all of a sudden became bullish, and all we needed is for the Fed to cut rates by 0.5% and surprise everybody. And so, we're definitely bullish all of a sudden. And, if you've followed our streams, daily streams, you would know that we've been talking about this sort of breakout coming up at the end of September into October, because October is the bullish month of the year. And we fully expect October to be like just giving us whatever we want. And it's approaching, obviously, the bull run. We expect Bitcoin to get 120,000. We expect ETH to get to 8 to 12,000. Solana 500, 600, 1,000 per Solana. So there's a lot of amazing bullish activity happening right now. I'm happy for it, but it doesn't mean that we're not going to have any bad days coming up. And I talked about it on today's stream that there's a possibility of this weekend being actually pretty bearish. We can definitely see some retraction from the bullishness we had today. But overall, on a macro scale, we're looking amazing. And I love talking crypto when things are bullish. I love being positive and giving everybody some hope, because it's been like 2.5 years, almost full 3 years before we had anything to cheer about. So I'm looking forward to the next 6 to 8 months, really. So while we wait for Terry to show up, I know Terry should be here anytime soon. Let's welcome in our guests. We have Sav and Cornholio. Corn, how's it going, man?
I'm good.
It's
Thanks
so
for
good that I
having
didn't
me.
have to remind Corn to come. I was just about to send
Don't
message.
worry, I got like 3 or 4 different reminders.
You are
None from
amazing.
you, despite your promise to remind me.
I was just going to do this.
But yeah, Sav yelled at me. He said, "Get in there," and I said, "You don't tell me
Oh,
what to do."
that's
And
so
then I got in
sweet.
here, so apparently he does tell me what to do. But love to hear that we're bullish on the long run of Sol. I am holding and probably won't sell even if it goes to zero. So let's hope it goes up.
It is definitely going to go up, and it's going to go up a lot more than where we are now. And I feel like everyone's going to be happy. You know, the only problem with everything going up for Sol is that transaction fees are going to be that much more expensive. You know, it's like positive negative, right? We want the price of Sol to go as high as possible, but we forget about the transaction fees. I mean, that's what happened with ETH, right? That was the problem for ETH as well. You know, transaction fees were very, very low, and they got up to $120 a fee. And so, you know, we got to think about that. I know the devs at Solana Foundation are, discussing this problem. You might be more technical than me to explain that there's probably a solution to that, right? As we scale up, but
There is and there isn't. I think the biggest thing that they're working on is data compression on chain. That's going to solve a lot of the problems. So the way programs on Solana work is basically you specify an amount of data you need to put on chain for your program to run. And that is considered the amount of rent you have to pay to keep that, that account open. So like, for me personally, I'm scrambling to write a bunch of contracts to get them out on chain before the price goes up, because some of them will cost 6, 7, 8 SOL, just because that's how much data and basically it's stagnant code that will sit on chain to be run. And so one thing you can do is reduce the amount that is actually put on chain, so only enough to be verifiable is one thing. So you're reducing the amount of account space, the amount of functions that run on chain, but also if you can compress a lot of the data, it just reduces the amount of space, therefore reduces the amount of rent you have to pay.
it's an interesting concept. It's kind of like having a storefront, right? You know, if you want to have a storefront, you got to pay, I guess, a rent fee to have that storefront. And then if you don't have anything in that storefront, you can close it and get your rent back. In essence, it's kind of like that idea. And as we move forward, like you said, I guess they have to compress the thing, and then hopefully that doesn't cause too many issues. Do you think maybe like transactions may be slowed down based on compression, or no? This is just something fictive.
As in the speed of how the transactions are processed?
Yeah.
No, I don't think that'll affect that at all. I think we're at a,
Okay.
The way it runs, because a lot of the compression stuff, the actual computational stuff happens off chain, and so we're really not worried about speed from off chain stuff. It's really how the chain processes it. So the off chain computation happens before the transaction's actually sent. Then the transaction's sent, and it verifies basically that the hash that you provided is correct based on what's supposed to be.
I got it.
So it takes
basically anything
cryptography.
off chain. Yeah.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
So it takes it to another extreme where you're just compressing a ton of data, where you have like maybe an entire MP3 worth of data that you've compressed into, a string of 64 bytes. So that takes up 64 bytes instead of, 3.2 megabytes. So that will actually help speed the chain up to some extent, because the less amount of data actually being read on chain. So theoretically, it should increase performance.
Right, because it's removing things for the chain to process, right?
Yep.
Essentially,
Mm-hmm.
and it speeds it up in that sense. Yeah, that makes sense. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool.
Basically,
It's interesting how that's gonna.
Oh, sorry, Char. I'm
No, go
saying
ahead.
that basically we have to take your advice and use this weekend that might be bearish to do all the transactions, stake everything that we want to stake, and do everything while we still have this low fees.
Yeah, launch all your programs on Solana before it explodes into,
Oh, I have so
couples
many
of
programs
hundreds. Oh, I
to
know
launch
you've been writing them left and right.
all summer long. That's why I'm like missing out.
So that's the other thing, right? You just said the cost of launching applications will skyrocket based on the price of Solana. So how does that change? How does it become cheaper to launch projects?
Compression again is going to be a big component in this. So the more you can compress and do off chain and then read that compression on chain, it means you can specify less amount of stuff to happen on chain in your own programs. There are certain things you can do in encoding your programs to reduce space that you use on chain. But at the end of the day, there's nothing that will stop it from getting more expensive. You can offset some of that increase in cost by doing things like compression, better state management, meaning you reduce the amount of information and do more processing off chain. So, it's all in the same vein of less on chain, but still use the chain for its security and for its verifiability. I wouldn't even know how to say that. Verifiability. There we go. That would probably be it. Yeah, it's gonna go up. For example, like a basic staking contract on Solana right now, without a ton of features, you're looking at 3 to 7 SOL, depending on how much data you want to store on chain, just to launch it. And it will take about 400-ish transactions to do that. So you have to consider that's not any
the cost as well.
money you're getting back. So the rent stuff you can get back when you close the program, or if you close the program. But the fees you do not get back. So
interesting.
You can do.
I'm sure, like over time.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, over time, I'm sure there's going to be solutions, right, to offset those things, because for every problem, there's going to be a solution. Somebody's going to come up a way to downsize the cost of launching applications. Because who wants to launch an application of 7 SOL at, say, $1,000 per SOL, right? Unless your ROI is going to be immediate, right? Where you're going to get like 2 months in, you've already made your exactly. Yeah.
I think also what we'll see is a lot of collaboration in the program space. So you'll see, there's always going to be competition for DeFi programs to be launched, but I think there will be certain processors that get launched, and it'll be a collaborative effort between teams that need to use those processors. So a program that runs like Jito's block subscriber, or their not block subscriber, one of their programs is something that a lot of different companies use. So it'll be something where there will be less need to launch your own, and it'll increase composability across the ecosystem, meaning everybody will have access to be able to use somebody's program, even without fees, just for the good of the ecosystem, so that companies aren't having to launch their own programs to handle certain things, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense, because you're trying to reduce costs at the end of the day. It kind of reminds me of like mergers and acquisitions in traditional finance, where companies bandy together just to reduce costs, right? They see the competition is not winning them any favors, and so they work together to lower their costs. And I think this is probably the way to go moving forward, with obviously Solana price going to increase. I mean, we know based on the fact that Solana now has been solidified to be the top 4 crypto, and is going to have some staying power. So we expect further upward momentum in Solana price moving forward. And, you know, is it going to get to 1,000 this cycle? I don't know, but you know, it's definitely going to get to 1,000 next cycle. The more people are onboarded on Solana, the easier it is to use. The fact that now we have that second phone out that's coming out in January, which is going to bring in probably a lot more users, depending on how it does, with the apps being on the phone, possibly gaming integrated on the phone. It's like another step towards mass adoption. And so I think Solana at $1,000 per SOL is just going to be in the rearview mirror in a couple of years. And so how do we make things cheaper for applications to be onboarded? How do we make it cheaper for projects to launch things and everything else? And I think you're right. It has to be collaboration. It has to be a way to work together towards utilizing the tools that are in front of us to make sure everyone does it in a cheaper way and can onboard more users. So it's good.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're right, because look, I mean, Solana came out of a time when ETH was starting to get too expensive. And if that happens with Sol, people will migrate to a cheaper chain. I mean, that people want, for the most part, unless you're very, very tied into kind of boutique chains, is what I kind of consider ETH at this point. You're just going to go for the cheapest option. And so Sol has to compete to be a viable, cheap option.
And the other thing I was considering is, so Solana doesn't have to be relying on its own network to onboard more users. You can actually be interoperable and utilize other networks. Like you can have a bridge between Polkadot and Solana, where Polkadot builders can build on Polkadot but integrate with Solana so they can onboard more users or transfer more users this way. I think that's probably the way to go into the future, because there's so many layer ones out there, so many of them, right? And on top of that, there's so many layer twos on top of those layer ones. And so they have to be interoperable at some point. And only the strongest communities that see that to utilize that feature to cross-chain and utilize other features on other chains will be successful. Because at some point there's going to be a culling of the chains, right? Those that are successful stay on the top. Those that are not, it's just not worth it to them to start up again, because the barrier of entry is going to be too huge, right? And so these chains that are, happy to be building in these moments and they're onboarding a lot of users, they're going to benefit in the long run. So it's going to be interesting to see how they do it.
Yep. I mean, like anything, there will be competition early on, and then the strongest will survive. I look at it like I look at operating systems on computers. You have two major operating systems and then kind of a third alternative operating system. There are a ton more. There are a bunch of different ways. Some people write their own. There's always going to be that. But the majority of the world either uses Windows-based or a Mac-based, an iOS, a Mac OS-based. And then you have your Linux, Android type operating system. But I see the same thing happening with chains. There will be about 3 chains that continue to operate after it's all said and done.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, speaking of tools, you guys built a ton of tools over the last, I want to say, year and a half. And some of it you guys have showcased, some of it you have not. A lot of them are on my screen and they're available to all holders. And I think some non-holders as well, just because, we can utilize the token account feature like this one right here, where you would be closing your token accounts and get actually some SOL back, right? And I guess there's a fee per transaction. Then there's like things like Sapphire, which I know you guys are either waiting to roll out or I think are soon to be rolling out, where it looks amazing. Like I looked it up today. I was like, wow, it looks like a real tool that people are going to be using, right? And so I know I've been using it for a while. And I just love the different things you can do with it. Maybe we can talk about this a little bit. But I mean, there's
I'll let Saab
there's-
jump into that stuff.
yeah,
Hey,
but I
guys.
just want to just give everybody an idea of how many things you guys built over the course. There's so much to look at on your website, right? You have your tool section. It's got transfers for NFTs. You have incinerator to burn tokens and NFTs, which I like to do a lot since I get so many fucking NFTs dumped into my wallet. The revoker for tokens. The quick delist function is actually really, really good. You're doing a mass listing and delisting, canceling offers, NFT messages. Has anyone actually used that, NFT messages? I know they were popular a few years ago, but are people actually communicating like this?
Not
Probably-
really so much anymore.
Yeah, not too much anymore. Whenever it was kind of popular before. I don't know.
But it's always good to have, right? Just in case something does come up and you want to message somebody. Hey, I like your NFT. Do you mind selling it to me? There you go. Right.
Yeah,
And a lot of other tools. Yeah, a lot of other tools you also have for holders like, skeleton portraits and sluggy portraits, which are really, really cool. And you have the other one that I kind of like that I'm still working on is resurrection. I still want to resurrect about 20 of mine because I still have so many to resurrect, but it's fun. It's fun, like seeing what they used to be like, and then what they're going to be like, and then you can interchange them as well. So it's really, really cool. I really appreciate like you putting the effort into building a lot of these tools and making them available to everyone, right? So for those that are listening in and they don't know about these tools, go to tombstone.app, and you can find all the tools there for you. Now, are there any of these tools gated with having to be a holder?
They should be all free for everyone to use. The only thing is that if you do hold a skeleton, you don't have to pay for the fees. So yeah, anybody can go in, transfer their NFTs, they can cancel their offers. I know a lot of people like to come in and use the closed token account just to get some of their SOL back from accounts that they've had open on their wallets or some of their wallets they don't use anymore. But yeah, you don't even have to hold a skeleton in that wallet. You'll just have to pay like a pretty small, minuscule Solana fee.
Right. Yeah, I love that. From time to time, I just got to double check. And, I was actually surprised one time I actually got a full SOL out of just closing accounts. And it works also with a ledger. If you have a ledger, I believe we got it down to 10 clicks. So, if you have 100 accounts to close, I think about 10 clicks would work, right?
Yeah, pretty much I jam as many transactions or as many instructions into one transaction. With the ledger, you have to click for each transaction, but you can close multiple accounts in one. And I think I was able to get it to 25 accounts closing per transaction. So if you have a ledger with, hundreds of open accounts, you're down to, 4 to 8 to, about 4 clicks per 100.
That's amazing. It's one of those most infuriating things to do with the ledger. Obviously it's the best tool to safeguard you from any scams and drains, but at the same time it's like a hindrance having to click every single time, especially for like something like that, like releasing the token accounts. But I'm glad it's like next to nothing now, where I think I only have to do about 10 for my token account. So awesome to see. If anybody wants to ask any questions during the stream, I'm going to show you where you can do that right now. In the stream section, in the chat right there, type in whatever you want, ask a question, say hi to Corn, like this. Hi Corn, or even hi Soft, just like that. Okay.
That's a really good point that Ars posted in the chat. Mass transfer tool. So you can like send a bunch of like NFTs. It's probably cheaper if you hold a skeleton and try to send your NFTs rather than like actually in your wallet. And it might even be the same thing for the burning, because I know Phantom added like their burning mechanism like within the wallet, and I don't know The exact numbers I got to double check, but it might even be cheaper to hold a skeleton and burn through us. You might save a couple bucks, but yeah, again, it'll be pretty small.
That's awesome. So how is it going with Sapphire? I'm really interested to hear your thoughts on Sapphire, because like I've been using it a lot, you know that, and I want to know where you guys are with Sapphire. Are you guys ready to launch? Because your site looks ready to go.
For the most part, yeah, we're pretty ready to go. I think we're just kind of like waiting on a green light when I don't really want to say like when the market's better. But there are a few other things that we want to clean up as far as just like the user interface and how the site actually like presents. You can go ahead and click launch app right now, and it will like actually take you to the page that I'm sort of talking about. But we want to have like featured artists. We want to have the different generators kind of featured, and to really, really showcase things. Oh, you might have to sign in, but shouldn't be hard. But yeah, I mean, it's good to go. I use it all the time.
Look how easy that is, right? One click, I'm already in, right? Yeah, I love it. And right away, you can see what people are generating, right? I mean, it's quite interesting, right? An array of things you can do. And I believe you can reuse the prompts to get different results. Is that right?
Yeah, so a lot of the time I'll just like put in the same prompt and kind of just keep clicking generate to see what comes out. And it may or may not sort of like learn from what you're putting in, but from what I've noticed, like each time that I'm using the same prompt or maybe change up like a word or two, it does get better and better each time, like more toward what I'm going for. And then for certain generators, you can actually like put the scale to be more weighted toward your prompt, or like kind of be a little bit more creative. There are a little bit more like flexibility with some of the different generators. But for DALL-E 3, I don't really think that's an option. I think they're maybe going to come out with some of those features later on, but kind of just like working with what we have at the moment. So personally, that one's my favorite. It just doesn't have those different scales and different settings that you can adjust and play around with. But we really want to put like some of the, like you're noticing now on the screen, there's a bunch of like generations and things that people have already done. You can probably go ahead and click on one of them, or maybe even click on generation at the top and like filter out some of the mintable ones. And you would be able to mint like any of these NFTs or any of these images that the creator made into an NFT for the user to mint. And again, like they can go ahead and set the price. I think as a user, you can tip the creator however much you want. Like let's just say Corn Pop made a cool little corn NFT, and I wanted to tip him a whole soul for it, even though he was charging like 0.01 soul or something. So that's a really cool feature that we want to incorporate for the artists themselves, and just like the creators or anybody that kind of comes along and types in anything on Sapphire and wants to put it on the blockchain.
All right, so what do we do it live? Okay, so give me a I don't know, anything to write. So let's do a core man, okay? Core man to do what?
Core man peeking through the window at night, and then see on like the search bar or the typing bar over to the right, you have like a couple of different buttons.
Right there.
The left one's going to be like a microphone, so you could actually like talk to it, and it will just kind of like follow your words and type those in.
Right.
The AI prompt will kind of take your prompt and enhance it a little bit. I'm not sure if that's actually turned on. The last few times I've tried, didn't work. No worries. And then the thing all the way to the right is your enhancements. Go ahead and click that, and then that'll bring up like a huge kind of just like a guide on things to select to put into your prompt. So these will be like nostalgic vibes, or you know, your 4K, your HD, or maybe you wanted a cartoon. These will be things that kind of like shaped the image itself. And we went ahead and just kind of like put some of the more popular ones up here in front. But this doesn't stop here. Like you can add hundreds of these to your prompt just by typing them in, or, you know, copying and pasting from a different prompt. Yeah, just kind of pick and choose a couple.
And then we'll go. So Core Man peeking through the window at night, hyperrealism, 4K, HDR, bold lines. Let's go. All right.
Yeah, so it should take a couple of seconds to generate. I haven't really seen like an instantaneous image generator out yet. But yeah, it just kind of gives you this cool little loading animation, and then it should pop up. And then if you scroll down, it'll kind of show like your recent generations too as you're generating, so you can kind of keep track.
Oh,
of
look at him go! Look at this! Look at this
The
beauty right
Sexy
now.
man.
the
Look at
salute.
this! The salute, Corman. You did a good job.
That's kind of
This is
creepy.
awesome. It is very creepy. So, what can we do with it? Right. So,
Right,
what do we
so
do
go
now?
down
Say I wanted NFT.
See where it says show previous generations?
I do. Yeah.
You can scroll down again, or you can go to like my generations there on the left side. But yeah, you can click it, and then to the right it says edit generation. That's just kind of like naming it for like your own collection. You can also make it public to where it shows on the homepage as like a recent generation.
Damn
You can
right.
also
We make it public.
Hell yeah. You can also make it mintable. That's kind of like what I was
Mintable,
mentioning earlier. If you do make it mintable, it's just like allows other users to go in and mint it as a CNFT, a PNFT, whatever you set it to. And then if you do click the mint NFT drop down bar, that'll be more like a kind of like a just a way for you to like edit the NFT, basically like name the NFT, add the description, put the royalties on it. Exactly. All of that stuff. You can change the standard. And then, yeah, you can do all of that from that page immediately after you create your image. So again, just kind of like going back to the point of like reducing friction and reducing the amount of clicks. You can literally type in words and create art and mint it to the blockchain within a couple of minutes, all from here.
I think
And
we
it's
should
awesome because you
mint
can copy the prompt. Sorry?
Richard, I think we should mint NFT at every Crypto Weekly from now on. It's like been a year, so that will be a new feature. We will mint one NFT and put it on sale for every Crypto Weekly.
That's hilarious. The only problem is I don't have my wallet set up on this laptop, so it would have to be you doing it. But it's so easy because all you can do is copy the prompt. You put the prompt back into the generator, right? And you go, all right, so if I really wanted to do this again, all you have to do is just copy and paste. And you can probably get a different, generation as well.
Each time it'll be different generations.
6 sapphires. When sapphires, when sapphires, once you give me 100, so I can mint another one.
When
I know. I'm all out. I used to have like 25,000 or something like that, and I minted too many, as you can see. There's way too many.
Orange should be able to add some. I'm not sure if he's got the time at the moment, but
it's okay.
He can probably add some.
But we can definitely do another generation another time. So that's
For sure.
It's pretty much easy to do because all you have to do is go to my generations and my generate image and select whatever generator you want. There's stability, which I believe is for NFTs, right? Is that
it can be NFTs. The way that we have it set up for them is it'll just like check your wallet that you have connected, take the images from your NFT, and then you can use those in the actual engine itself. But stability is mainly just like image to image. So you can either take the NFT image, that's something that you own, or you can put any other image that you want into the generator. And then Leonardo is the other one, and that one's just text to image. Same thing with DALL-E.
Right. I personally love DALL-E. I don't know what it is about it, but it gets the hands correct a lot of times.
It gets the hands.
So it's a big deal, right?
It is.
Because everything looks good except for like the finger is missing or the 2 fingers are missing. You're like, or the hand is coming out of the chest. And you're like, no, that's not how it works.
Especially with like skeletons and stuff, it really didn't like just like fingers and bones, and it looked like a mess. And for a while, I was just like typing into my prompts like, no fingers, don't show hands, like.
Right.
Yeah, it was crazy.
So if you wanted to get more sapphires to get more generations, I guess this is basically what you get. You get 1,000 sapphires for $7, 2,200 sapphires for $14, 3,500 sapphires for $20, and I believe 5,000 for $25. I mean, that's a deal. So yeah, it's pretty cheap if you ask me. And for those that really like DALL-E, I think that's like 300 generations or more for $25. It's amazing, really. Good price point.
Yeah.
There are also some other ways to get sapphires. If you go under the Web3 tools, you should be able to
Okay, let's do
find.
that.
I
Oh, look at
don't
that.
know if
Burn
they're
for
live yet.
sapphires, swap for sapphires, edit NFTs, and
Yeah, so
manage
some of these
collections.
some of
Let's
these are
go.
coming soon. But the burn for sapphires, if you have regular NFTs that have storage accounts, what it does is it closes them, and then we take that account fee, and you get sapphires in exchange for it.
Amazing.
Same thing with swap.
Um,
If you have a bunch of like old tokens that really don't have a ton of value, you have a couple of cents here and there, you can swap them, and it gives you the automatic conversion to sapphires.
Bro, I
and
have
you
so
can get
many of
sapphires
those.
that way.
Oh my god, I'm gonna have to swap some of those for sapphire.
Yeah.
I got way too many. I get set one every day. Every time I open my wallet, there's a new one there. I'm like,
Yep.
what is this?
Yeah.
So if I can get sapphires just because of that, that's a win for me.
We basically gave shitcoins a utility.
Exactly. Exactly. Anything to get some shitcoin utility in this space is a win. Use's got a question here. It says here, Saw, what we got for October? Gib Alpha. What you got?
Dude, that's so cool that you can put like the question on the screen. That's awesome.
Oh, yeah, I know.
This whole stream thing's dope. But like you guys were saying in the beginning, like October's just like a bullish month. I think we have a bunch of stuff kind of rolling out in October. At least that's what I'm hoping for. I know Corn's a little bit busy with some client work that we're doing for Tomb Labs over the next probably week and a half, 2 weeks. But the last couple of days, we added a couple of different products to the merch line. That's pretty much ready to go. I think we're just waiting on a couple of things to kind of be panned out as far as like payments and getting some of the order details and everything like that. But I would say like 90 to 95% ready to go on that. We'll probably either be close to, if not ready to be releasing our new staking site sometime in October. I don't really have a definite date yet, but that's sort of the plan. We've just kind of like run into some road bumps with our current provider, and we're looking to move away. So yeah, there will be a transition period sometime October or November where everyone's kind of just transferring over from the old staking to the new staking, which is going to be a pain, but it's just something that we got to go through and kind of do ourselves. And then once we have that up, we should be able to kind of include other projects and some really other cool features to come along with that. But I'm not going to go into too much detail. We've talked about them before.
I was just gonna ask you. I'm like, you got to give me something here. Is it going to be anything like the Anybody's site? Because we've been talking about Anybody's having a lot of features that a lot of people like and like to use, right? With specifically having different tokens to be released or staked and given as emissions. That's a really, really good feature. There's a few problems with all of that, like the restaking issue and whatever. But if you guys are going that route, I think you have a winner on your hands, and I'm sure all of us will be able to use it and promote it, because we really need a proper staking platform that everybody can use and showcase at the same time. So I want to know,
absolutely. I think that's sort of the goal, maybe a little bit more long term. I think for the most part, we want to take care of ourselves first, because we want to move away from Anybody's, just because they're not very responsive, and we like to have like our own website set up. Like before, for the longest time, we actually had like the graveyard.tombstone.app, and it would take you to like our custom user interface, custom background, all this cool stuff. And then just one day, like it was gone. And we've been trying to get in contact with them for months about, getting that back up and everything. So eventually we just kind of made the decision, like, okay, this is going to go forward and we're going to just start planning this out. I'm sure Corn can probably tell you a little bit more about the feature, since he's a little bit more hands-on with what's to come and what he's going to include in that. But for the most part, the goal is to have, like you were saying, just a platform that everybody can come and use. It's not going to be anything too crazy to begin with. So maybe some of those features like staking for other tokens, or doing like token campaigns. I'm not sure if you guys participated in those, but we did for Tombstone. Those were cool, but I think some of the limitations were a little bit too outlandish. But yeah, again, Corn can probably elaborate a little bit more on some of those features. But yeah, ultimate goal is to have a really cool staking platform out for everyone.
Will you have full support of all types of NFTs? Like I know there's compressed and programmable and the traditional, but are you going to have all support?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, right now the plan is as many features as possible, with the exception of some of the things that Anybody's does, just because this is all going to be on-chain. Anybody's isn't an on-chain program, so it has to run a little bit differently. And also, we're not going to control it the same way, so it'll be open source and open access, meaning you can go in and create as many different staking pools as you want. So you could start your own campaign and call it a campaign because you get to pick the reward token. So you could, set up a bonk reward for 50 different NFTs of your collection. And once it hits that threshold, the pool closes, and then, whenever that amount that you submit for the reward token runs out, then that campaign is essentially over. Then you can go ahead and close that staking pool. But it will have escrowed and escrowless staking for standard NFTs, programmable NFTs. I don't know right now about CNFTs because I don't believe you can lock them, but I'm sure it's coming. So that will be added when that's an option. So right now it'd be escrow based. CNFT support. You'll be able to, choose if you want to let anybody stake, how many people can stake. You can do kind of tiered locking. So if you want it to do, lock for 3 months, lock for a year, lock for 6 months, lock for 1 month, though, that's an option as well. Or, no lock at all. They can come and go as you please. You also control the fees you want to charge. So there is a fee that you would pay to us to set up a pool that you have no control over. But once you set up the pool for your users, they'll be able to pay you directly for the fees. We don't take your community's fees, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 1,000%.
So you can make it
amazing.
Only Solana for fees, or you could add your own fee to it.
Okay, so it could be your own native token if you really wanted to, right? Or another token, right? Say, for example, you really want to accumulate bonk, so the fees will be in bonk only. Could that be?
Right now, fees are just Sol.
Which will be kind of cool when you think about it, right? If you really wanted to incentivize some trade, I guess you can make it in another token. But
you could.
I get it.
I think part of the problem there is it creates friction for people wanting to stake. If they have to pay a fee and a token they have to go swap for, they may not go and do that. I personally am the kind of person that if you add extra steps for me, I usually won't do it.
Yeah, makes sense because you really want to eliminate as many steps as possible. People just don't need to be doing a whole bunch of stuff. Like, I remember trying to explain to people how to stake Velo, this one token that we like, and it's really difficult. And not just stake, but like even put it on a ledger, for example. It is so difficult because it's not an intuitive process, and it's like 10 steps deep. And you got to make sure the token address is correct, and you got to make sure like the ledger accepts it properly, and that's all the other stuff. So I'm like, it's not intuitive. I'm never going to suggest it to anyone. So if anyone's holding a token, for example, I would say just keep it on a centralized exchange. But like, I get it. It's like, if you wanted people to use your platform, simplify it as much as you can. Don't create extra steps. Make it as user friendly as possible, and then people will be like, all over it. So good. Do you have an idea how long this is going to take to roll out? Sometime in October?
I hope, but there's a lot going on for me in terms of client work as well as Sapphire merch and other things. For the longest time, people assumed we had more people on the team, but we're really a very small team. So We can only, manage a couple of project releases at a time. So we like to talk to the community and some of the people in the higher council to get a feel of what things they want to see released in what order. So to some extent, we're at the mercy of their wishes for time frame on this, on what gets released first. My guess would be sometime in November, probably late October, maybe, depending on how these client jobs go.
Yeah, it's all about the timing, really, of the market. So you want to release something that's really, really good in a market that's happy, right? Because if they're unhappy, no one's going to care what you release. And so it's essentially, looking at the market, saying, is it the right time to release something positive? And timing is, I think, more important than just releasing it. So if the market's ready for it and you have everything ready to go, absolutely go for it. I think it will be received positively. But if we're somehow in a bearish situation in, I don't know, say November, I would just say to hold off, wait until we get really bullish. And then it's like no one's going to care what it costs. No one's going to care whether or not is, I don't know, say a soul to set up in an account or whatever, because they're going to say, I'm making lots of money. I don't really care. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that, really, because a lot of projects that we talk to, they need something. They absolutely need something. And I think you're going to provide a lot of value to those who are looking for that solution. So looking forward to that. And Silas, you've been silent for like an hour. You got any questions?
No, I was just listening to you. So many good things that are happening. I know that it's been a difficult year for the projects, and always admire that Tombstone is building, is doing things. I have questions to solve. How was the summer? How was Solana camp? How did you spend it?
Oh, it was great. It was a lot of fun, actually. It was a nice little getaway. Kind of rekindled some relationships with some pretty cool people. Got to meet a lot of other people, and it was great in comparison to like a lot of these other events. Like I'm sure it's going on right now in Singapore, because everybody was all in the same place and it was all the same people. I think there was like 150, maybe 170 people there, all staying in cabins, kind of like waking up, getting breakfast, lunch, dinner together, rather than like just running into somebody at an event, saying hi, or like trying to squeeze in a conversation, and then like you never see them for the rest of the event or the rest of the weekend, just because everybody's going to this event or trying to go over here and trying to go out afterwards. Like it's kind of just insane chaos. So the summer camp was like way more relaxed. We actually got to have those conversations and network and really connect with some of these people that I've met before, but didn't have that opportunity to really sit down and conversate with them. So I thought it was extremely valuable. It was a nice little vacation for myself. It was great. We all got to do like archery and fucking water sports and shit like that. So I guess point being, like, highly encourage you guys to come out next year or just try to get out to any sort of event. I know we're sort of starting to plan Art Basel. I know Singapore and Breakpoint's going on. Just try to get out, try to go meet people in Web3 and just go and enjoy yourself. I think these events are a great opportunity to do all of that stuff.
Yeah, I agree. I think that when you meet people in person, it brings some kind of different connection. It's much closer. You can imagine how this person looks and what's the vibe, what's the real vibe. So it's amazing. I would love to join at some point. Sounds like a really great weekend. I wish it was even longer, than just a weekend. It would be nice to spend longer time.
Yeah, that's what we were all saying.
Yeah. It seems like it should be a vacation, like this corporate vacation, for all DGENZ to come together.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it was. But we were decently well behaved. They kind of kept us within the campgrounds. They didn't let us leave or anything. But it was a great time. There was open bars from like 1 or maybe like 4 p.m. to like 1 a.m. or something. I don't know. It was a great time. I saw the Rabbit just asked if we had any plans for Art Basel. Yes, I actually I don't know how much I'm going to say about this, but I just got sent a venue, and apparently they're talking to the people for the venue. We're either going to co-host or sponsor some sort of decently sized event. I think the theme is going to be like a pop-up shop, so expect us to be there with some more merch this year. I did just drop you one of the things that we're adding to the merch store if you want to show that on stream before we go, just so people can get an idea of kind of like what we're aiming for the next drop.
What do you mean, the stuff that I'm showing right now?
Are you able to like pull up Discord? I sent it over Discord.
Oh, Discord. Okay, let me just check it really quickly.
Yeah, all good. It's nothing inappropriate, I promise.
Okay. Oh, I see. Okay. Let me open that in the browser real quick.
Yeah.
This is what we're looking at right now.
Yes, sir.
It?
Yep.
That's awesome. So when can we get that? That looks awesome.
As soon as corn is finished, but pretty soon. I want to say early October, probably mid-October. We'll have everything ready to go. You'll just be able to go in and buy it, ship it to your house. The one thing I will say is that it's going to be a limited drop, so there's only going to be a certain amount of each item, and I think we're gonna limit probably one item per order. So like you can't just buy out like 100 shirts. That would be kind of stupid. Yeah. So just expect some limitations, and then for some of the future drops too, expect some time limitations. So in those cases, we'll do like take as many orders as we can within 48 hours, and then we'll go with that. But this run, we're kind of just testing some things out, seeing how the metrics look, and we're gonna go from there.
It reminds me of the talk I had with Kai's from OK Bears. He was saying the same thing, where like the market is towards limited edition stuff, and only certain people that own, I guess, certain level of NFTs will be able to have access to that specific apparel, the limited edition apparel. And I think you're going the same route, and it's amazing because I think that's going to drive a lot of value towards not just holders, but people that want to have something exclusive from an NFT project. So I think it's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we are planning to do some cooler stuff with like we have the Cursed, which is 13 or more skeletons, and then obviously just like skeleton holders, and then we also want to make it available to just anybody that doesn't even own a skeleton, that might just be interested and be like, oh, you know what, that's a pretty cool piece of merch, let me buy that. So we want everybody to be included. It's not going to be too limited in that aspect, but there will be some constraints as far as supply. But I think Kai's is right. I think the way to go is the limited drops and make things sort of exclusive. That way you can kind of like look back and be like, damn, like I bought this Tombstone hoodie 2 years ago and it's still running nice. And I don't know, just kind of like brings back some memories in that sort of way. So I'm excited about it. I've been kind of just like picking away at it over the last few weeks and months actually, but we're pretty much set up, ready to go. Really aiming for October on this one.
Well, it brings me to my last question of the day. What do you guys think about what happened with DGENZ and them going straight to shitcoin? What's your thoughts on that?
Probably let Corn go first on this one.
404s are dumb.
Agreed.
That's all I have to say. I don't hate the idea that they went with. I don't like using 404s. And I think it's just an unnecessary token type in my eyes. Maybe DeFi people feel differently. But I don't hate consolidation of their collection. I don't hate the idea of a unified token, although I don't know why they wouldn't just, since Dust already has, they've already used Dust as an LP token, why they didn't go to that. But in terms of using a 404, I don't agree with that, but I do like the consolidation. Those are my thoughts.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with Corn. We kind of went back and forth about it for like a whole day. We were just like, what the fuck's even going on? But yeah, I don't think 404s are that great, but I do think with what DGODS is all about, putting all of their collections together, including Dust, was definitely a smart move. I don't know if putting it into a token was, a smart play, just because of like token price action is just like so volatile, and it doesn't even matter like what token you have. It could be fucking Jupe or whatever, and it still goes up and down, and people hate on it. So, to be honest, I think they're doing a great job with just like handling it and kind of ignoring all the hate and leaning into it a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, respect to them for trying something different and realizing like, hey, we have too much going on. Let's just bring it all together. I sort of think we're in a little bit of the same boat, and we're exploring a couple of different routes to go about that. I know it will have to do with staking in Sapphire and some things along those lines too, but more on that at a later date.
I just wonder if it was all necessary, right? Because to me, it all speaks to the lack of direction by the group. Because, if you're going to launch a secondary collection in Utes, and then do a season 3 in DGODS, and then go back to, trying to consolidate all of that, and then turn into a token, which is completely unnecessary because you already have Dust. It speaks to the lack of vision, in my estimation. If they had this plan all along, then clearly they didn't communicate it to everybody else who was buying it. Because don't forget, people were using tubes they were paying 130 SOL for to mint a Ute, which now they have to turn into whatever, say, 0.005 USD value per token of a shitcoin. And so I feel like a lot of these people that were buying did not expect this turn of events. And I feel like they didn't mislead them, but didn't have the proper direction, didn't communicate that. And so, yeah, it's nice that they're trying different things. But if you are buying constantly and you're hoping that they have some vision and direction, this feels like just a whole bunch of swerves. Right, you're on the road. You think you're going the right way, and you go, "No, I think we're going to take the detour." You're like, "What? Wait, we're just going to be like 10 minutes away from the end where we're supposed to go." You're like, "No, we're going to take the detour." And I feel like there's too many of those detours.
No, yeah, that's a great analogy. But don't make it seem like I'm trying to defend them or anything. But I guess in their defense, they have had some like leadership and team changes over the last probably year or so. So I'm sure their direction has changed a lot, and they're definitely trying to kind of swerve and take those detours toward things that are a lot more trending or more popular at the time. And let's be honest, like they're the masters at that. They are really good at getting attention and kind of like driving the ship a certain way. And maybe this isn't a good example of that, turning all of their assets into a token. But for the most part, the way that they handle things and the way that they do make those turns, it's definitely something to be studied.
Yeah, everyone has obviously a change in direction at some point, depending on where they are in the space. I'm talking to Kais, for example. He realized what his direction was, and he took it, and now he's on his road to becoming successful. And I guess everyone has to go through that. But I feel like the DGODS team went through that so many times, right? And it's like, how many more times are you going to do that before investors just don't give a fuck anymore? And for people that are outside looking in, they're seeing this and going, this is not a serious group. Yeah, sure, they're trying different things. Sure, they can drum up some hype. And a lot of crypto is driven by hype in that sense. But is it going to be long lasting, right? Are people going to just use the opportunity to dump and get out? We saw pumps from their NFTs go from whatever it was, like 20 SOL to 50 or whatever, 45 SOL, and now back down. So are people just using this as a way to get out of the space? Or are they actually genuinely happy? Because to me, if the holder count is not going up, then it's just a giant swap of liquidity from one holder to another. And so I don't know what it is.
Yeah, no, that definitely seemed to be what it was, especially after the charts settled down, I was trying to pay attention the best I could, and if it went a different way, and I think if people really received it a lot better and the token price went up, everybody would have been a lot happier. But that's the thing with like these tokens in the 404s is like, how do you directly correlate this token amount to another asset and then have two different prices in those assets? I guess that's what I can't wrap my head around. Like, it's almost as if you're trying to play this balancing game the entire time. Like, oh, I got to keep my token price up while also keeping my NFT price up. And if my NFT price gets too high, then my token price is going to fall, and vice versa. So
because you set the standard, exactly. So you set a standard for what the NFT is going to be worth in terms of token price. And so like when things go out of balance, now people are going to try to take advantage of that situation. And so there will be people there selling into the lows on the token, trying to buy the NFT because they see more value in it, and vice versa. And so it's going to be very difficult to keep them all in sync, right? Until they finally say this is
don't like them. The 404
well,
is to be specific.
Exactly. And then what you have to do is identify if this is going to be always the same method moving forward, right? If you're going to make sure that you can always swap your NFT into a token, or there's a finite method of saying, okay, this is the deadline, no more swapping over into the token.
Right. I think a lot of this stuff goes really well with like constraints or like rules, like rule sets, like you can't do this, or there's a limit to this, or like however it plays out per project, as long as like a project can, I guess, dance around that kind of stuff and play that balancing game while also setting like a good standard of rules, then they'll be successful. But I think it really comes down to like a per project basis, because one project might have a better ecosystem to do it in, and then another one tries it and it just completely fails. So maybe in their case this works out. I think Mike does make a good point that they did increase the overall holders of DGENZ, if you really want to look at it technically. So who knows? I'm definitely here to watch how it plays out. I'm not going to make any moves just because they are or anything like that. I think
they're very much experimenting. Exactly. So we'll see what the experiment looks like. But as for example, like if you're a serious investor and you want to invest into the idea of a DGOD, right, ecosystem, like when you're buying a Yuga Labs asset, you're thinking like big picture. You're going, all right, I'm investing in Yuga Labs and Animoca brands and so on and so forth. Right. When you're buying a Doodles, you're buying a Doodles ecosystem. You're buying a DGOD, you're buying DGOD ecosystem. What are you thinking when you're throwing out $3,500 per NFT? Are you thinking like, hey, I'm going to get some returns? Or are you just happy that you own an NFT and see where it goes? Right.
I mean, that could just totally be the investor. And I think that's like definitely subjective. But I think you're absolutely right. Like if you're just like in this for the financial gain and you see them do, or other projects do different moves like this, then you're going to be like, yeah, what the fuck? So I definitely think that's why we've stayed away from 404s, and I've definitely been vocal about us not liking them just for that reason. We have a lot of different assets in our ecosystem, and I just don't think it would really pan out in the long run for what we've got going on. Token prices are just too volatile, and then you're just mixing two different markets and trying to, again, play that balancing act. Rabbit, I don't know if they're getting royalties from this. I don't even know if you can, like, is there a way to like get royalties from token sales?
There is with token 22.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't know. That's the thing with 404. It's a completely different standard.
Yeah,
I haven't been able to find any source code. I haven't really looked because I don't care that much. But that's another thing I don't like about the 404s is it's a completely different standard, which makes the development experience on Solana that much worse. Because now when you go into a wallet and you look at tokens, you could have, is this token a Solana program library token? Is it a Solana program library token that's an NFT with Metaplex standard? Is it a PNFT? Is it a CNFT? Is it a new NFT type, the core NFT? Is it the 404? Is it a token 22? Is it a inscription, whatever they did with that bullshit. So you have like 8 to 10 different token types that each token can be in one wallet. It just makes it's a mess, and it's unnecessary because well, I'm not going to go on my 404 rant, but I don't like the constant adding of complexity to the developer experience. It's already hard enough on Solana. But I also like when you think about the way the thing I like about what DGENZ is doing with this is the beauty of DGENZ on their rise was they didn't give a fuck to try things. They just went after it, right? Like their entire purpose was just kind of, I hate to say it, fuck it, we ball, but that's kind of what it's been. It's we're gonna try some shit and we're gonna fail and we're gonna succeed, and then they got away from that when they tried to stabilize with the DLab stuff. And to me, this is a call back to their original form, kind of, fuck it, we're just going to try some shit. And I don't have a problem with it. I like it.
Well, to find out what you're worth or what you can create, you got to try a lot of stuff, right? I just feel like they should have done that at the valuation of like 12 SOL each, not 45 SOL each, right? And so if you're buying stuff at that level and you're hoping that they don't try some shit just to try some shit, then you're not looking good. So I'm wondering if that's probably the perception that people have for DGODs right now is like, okay, you should have told us you're going to be just trying stuff. And so maybe we wouldn't be buying the NFTs at this level and expecting some amazing return, because I'm sure people who are buying in right now are like, hey man, I thought this was supposed to be just up only, Yeah,
but I mean, when have they been dishonest about that? I feel like everything in their communication is, we're just going to keep trying shit. Like, to me, if I'm buying a DGOD, I'm buying into the instability of what they're doing, right? Like, chaos. I don't think they've been dishonest in that regard. I don't think you mean I don't mean dishonesty. I mean just less communicative. Yeah, like you need to present it all at once so people can make a better decision. And so if they do buy an NFT or buy into their assets and things do not pan out, they can say, look, we told you we're just trying a bunch of shit. You're more than welcome to come for the ride, but don't expect us to be pumping the price just because we're trying some shit. Things may go down, things may go up. Let us make those ups and downs with you if you're willing to stay on board. And I think being honest about it from the outset might actually be favorable for everybody, and I would be easily defending them for that aspect, right? So just saying, be forthright when you're saying these things. That's how it comes across to me. That's how it's always come across to me, is the way you're saying it. Like that's what the message has been. But I have a different read of the space than you, and I have a different read of the space than each individual is going to have a different read. And you and I come at it from a different background, right? Like I don't look at it so much as a trader. That's the lens you're looking at it from. So of course you're going to make some decisions different than me and look for things that I don't look for.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, you know what? I'm glad you guys put your 2 cents in, or 2 Satoshis, or 2 Solanas. It's always good to chat about things that are almost controversial. And I feel like, if we're talking about these things, at least people can have a different idea of what's happening. And maybe they can have a different viewpoint based on what we talk about. So we're approaching an hour and 13 minutes, almost an hour, 15 minutes. I had a really good conversation with you guys. If you haven't had a chance to follow Tombstone on Twitter, absolutely now is the opportune time. Give them a follow. Stay up to date to what they're doing, what we talked about. They have Tomb Lab stuff that they're going to be issuing out. They have Sapphire Tool they're going to be releasing really soon. A lot of stuff to keep tabs on. And if you haven't joined their community, please do so now. I'm a member there. They have an awesome community, really outgoing and fun community. So do that. Sav, Korn, it's been a pleasure. It's been that 1.5 hours of awesome chat. And thank you for joining me. It's been fun.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks a ton for having us.
All right, guys. See you guys next week for episode 54. I'm not going to tell you who's going to be there. I need to confirm a few things, but you can catch me tomorrow during my DGENZ Crypto daily streams. Until then, see you tomorrow, friends.
Making everyone smile. Terry's got the magic touch, showing shit cause that are much to be desired and loved, like teddy bears and hugs. We collect them all, no dumping. Anyone tell me when they're pumping? Do what you want.